And joining us now from Cairo is the economist Mr. Bakr El-Deeb to discuss the latest developments related to US President Donald Trump's statements on tariffs in the Panama Canal. Welcome, Mr. El-Deeb, to the Qnews Economic Bulletin. Let's start off with really trying to know how might Trump's rhetoric on imposing tariffs impact the US's relations and relationships with major trading partners such as China, the European Union and Canada.
At the outset, welcome to you and to dear viewers. I'm happy to be with you. And at my opinion, the inauguration speech of President Donald Trump was an earthquake, not just to planet Earth, but also to Mars, because these statements are very important and very serious and dangerous for the biggest economy in the world related to immigration and economy and supply chains. These supply chains were disrupted and will be further affected because of these statements. He promised within the US policy to impose tariffs and customs not just to his enemies but also to his friends and allies, including the European Union and Canada and Mexico, in addition to his longtime nemesis, China. He also threatened Russia if they do not commit to the peace negotiations in Ukraine, he will impose further sanctions. He comes with a sword of the custom tariffs. He wants, as he said, that he wants to build the U.S. economic power again, posing a lot of restrictions on imports to the US from all around the world to pave the way for American companies to produce for self-sufficiency. This will actually reflect very negatively on global markets as the oil trade was highly disrupted after President Trump said that he will invest in fossil fuels and he will look for oil again in the US, then, as well as his withdrawal from the Paris Agreement, and he will withdraw from investing in green and renewable energy, and he will go back to traditional power sources, and they have a lot of reserve to be an exporting company, which disrupted the oil market globally.
Well, Mr. El-Deeb, could these continuous threats of tariffs disrupt the ongoing negotiations under the existing trade agreements, such as the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement?
Of course, the USMCA agreement, named as NAFTA, it is a group agreement for the preferential trade between US and Canada and Mexico. There is a high volume of trade exchange between the three countries, including 125 US dollars exports from the US to Canada. When they impose tariffs on these exports, it will cost the Canadian economy $450 million, which is a lot of money for Canada, which is, of course, a very large company. They have the third world oil reserve, and they have 20% of the world fresh water. It is a very important and strong economic state, but with these tariffs and duties, it will be highly impacted. 25% tariff will impact the Canadian economy, as well as Mexico. Also Germany. Germany will lose 1% of its GDP because of these new tariffs to be implemented during the next few weeks or months. A lot of states such as France and the UK will be impacted because they have a large volumes of trade with the US. We can also talk about China and other states will deal with the US with the same treatment. They will also impose the tariff, which will harm the international trade arena and will disrupt the trade movement in the world, disrupting supply chains. And we will see again high inflation rates, as well as the restricted cash policies. The US will benefit partially, but they will also suffer from negative effects such as high inflation and restricting the cash policies.
Mr. Deeb, now talking about the Panama Canal, how could Trump's statements of taking back the Panama Canal affect the relationships between the US and Panama and other Latin American nations?
This is part of the Trump statements, as he wants to be an empire for the US, not just a president. He wants the annexation of Canada to the United States, as well as the Panama Canal, and also a Danish island. All of these expansion plans are very controversial. And talking about the Panama Canal, it is 100 years old canal, which is highly important to Canada. It is 23% of the total revenue for Canada, and it makes Canada the most stable state in Middle America because of the foreign currency the canal introduces to the national income of Panama. So, and that's why Panama will not leave this Panama smoothly. The US, of course, is a very strong power, and it will be a conflict, but there are international resolutions that would rule such conflict with the presence of the United Nations and the Security Council. He wants to make the changes to the entire region, which will require global consensus to be passed through by the Security Council and the United Nations. It's a significant also. This Panama Canal is significant to the United States. Trump accuses the Panama Canal of high duties and imposed on the US ships passing through the canal. He accuses Panama of a lot, and these will be the excuses for taking over the canal to pave the way for negotiations to reduce the duties imposed on US ships to pass from the Atlantic Ocean through. Also, the Danish island and the EU states opposed these measures and these statements. We have seen German and French and British statements rejecting the Trump desires and hopes. They are not final decisions yet. Also, Democratic officials expressed their rejection and unacceptance to the.
Yes, we will definitely be following and seeing how he follows through with these claims and promises. That was our economist, Mr. Bakr El-Deeb. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.